Just a roundup of the SPFL results that are covered today. St Mirren have just done an unbelievable thing right at the end of the game. St Mirren are still just playing as this. Is it just ending? Has Hearts just had some heartache? They have. No, at full time coming out of St Mirren. St Mirren have won the game 3-2 versus Ross County, which puts them into the top 6 of the SPFL. So that's absolutely brilliant for St Mirren. Absolutely brilliant for St Mirren. The fact that they have just pushed Hearts down into the out of the top 6 into the bottom 6 of the table. That's brilliant. That's probably one of the better results that we could have hoped for today. The other final scores in the SPFL today were obviously Celtic 5, Kilmarnock 1. Dundee United have just scored. My God, Dundee United have just scored. What's that done to the table? Dundee United have just scored. Pushes Aberdeen down into fifth place. Aberdeen definitely need to win tomorrow against Rangers because they've just been pushed down into 5th place with Dundee United. Dundee United just scoring in the last minute of the game. Also, absolutely brilliant that Hearts have been put down into the bottom 6. Absolutely, couldn't get it any better. Absolutely, bye Sharks. Best, God bless the Albert kid, says Brown Warrior. The way we played at the start of the season was great to watch. Good performance from the boys today. First 30 minutes, fuck Hearts. Yep, absolutely brilliant. Brilliant. You can't make it up if Saturdays were done by Carlsberg. So the table now has changed again since we've came on. St Mirren have made the top 6. St Mirren have made the top 6. There's no one else that can get into the top 6. So the top 6 of the SPFL is Celtic, Rangers, Hibernian, Dundee United, Aberdeen and St Mirren. Aberdeen will want to win tomorrow so that it pushes them up into 3rd position in the league. And a win tomorrow would do that. They are bound to, and Hibernian play tomorrow as well, don't they? Jesus, it's going to be some games tomorrow. There's going to be some games tomorrow, but that is the teams that Celtic will play in the final remaining games of the SPFL season. Who will we win the league against? Who will get pulled out first in the hat? Will it be Rangers away? Will it be Hibernian? Will it be Dundee United? Will it be Aberdeen or St Mirren? I've got a funny feeling that the first game after the split is going to be Hibernian, Rangers, Dundee United, Aberdeen, then St Mirren at Celtic Park. That's my prediction for the last remaining games of the SPFL. I think they'll get us Hibs the next. But the bottom half of the table is Hearts, Motherwell, Kilmarnock, Ross County, Dundee United and St Johnstone. So there's only the one team. Hibernian play Dundee tomorrow. Aberdeen play Rangers. And this has been a good old day. That's more like it today, says John Paul Glasgow. Yep. What was that? Turn up the volume, Baz, mate. It's maybe this. Didn't even turned up a bit. I need to go on and check. Is that better? Anyway, the fact is that there is input audio. It's maybe the input through. It's because it's a new workstation. Where is microphones? Microphone. Here we go. Microphone. Voice control. No, I don't want voice control. Microphone. It doesn't have a volume bit on it. I need to work on that. It is a new It's a Mac. I'm learning my way around the Mac. But anyway, it is a cracking result for Celtic today. Good to be able to catch a live again. Troops is Big Des. He's been busy as anything. Watching reruns. Big Des, I've not been on live for ages because of laptop issue. Now that's been sorted and I bought a Mac. So we'll see how we get on with that. First game definitely won't be the Scum. No, it won't be, Paul. It never is. They never play them the first game. It's usually the second game to make sure that it's not a title decider. So I think the second game will definitely be them. I think the first game, I've got a funny feeling it'll be Hibs. Just got a funny feeling it'll be Hibs. CCV needs to try more of what he did today. It looked comfortable going forward and letting that screamer rip into the top bin. First game maybe St Mirren. It may be St Mirren. It could be St Mirren, but I'm not sure when they come out and tell us. It'll end up being Tuesday or something. It'll be Tuesday. Can't actually believe that we are willing to let Taylor go for free. He made a difference today, says John Paul Glasgow. I don't think it's the fact that we're letting him go for free. I think it's the fact that he never signed a contract with Celtic. I mean, the contract offer was there. The contract offer's still on the table, I believe. But, you know, one good game. I mean, walking onto the pitch with his baby in a Celtic gear, trying to say that he's a Celtic through and through, and we all know that he's not. But listen, he had his little moment. He got his kid onto the pitch. He had his little proud daddy moment. So yeah. It is what it is. I says that we should have sold him. But for me, it should have been Monday morning, I think, says Paul Baird, talking about the games in the SPFL. So with 33 games played, Celtic have won 26. They've drawn 3. They lost 4. Losing 4. In any championship season, losing 4 and drawing 3, you're normally thinking, and it just shows you how rotten the other teams have been. And I feel for Aberdeen fans. I mean, Aberdeen being pushed down into 5th today. Hopefully they'll get their vengeance tomorrow and they'll jump back up into 3rd place. Because, I mean, Aberdeen should have been fighting for 2nd place this season. But it is what it is. Top scorers. Who's the top scorers? Top scorers in the SPFL, Dyson Maida on 15 goals, 7 assists after playing 29 games. He only played 29 games in the SPFL. Strange one. And then the next Celtic player, said Nico Kuhn on 10 goals in the league, 8 assists. Kyogo Furiashi, 10 goals in the league, 3 assists after playing 22 games. Next up is the Arne Engels. Arne Engels, that gets a lot of stick. He is on 9 goals for the season and 5 assists after playing 29 games. Also, Adam Ida and Callum McGregor are both on 8 goals each for the season, and Callum McGregor's got 2 assists after 29 games. It's crazy to think that Callum McGregor is actually further up the league table, in 13th position, his joint 13th position, but he's one ahead of Adam Ida, which is quite funny because the money. I mean, what would you think that? There's a question for you. So what would it have cost if we had to buy Callum McGregor? What would have been the cost to Celtic for us if when you look at we paid six million for Scott Brown? What's 6 million? Is it 4 million? I can't remember. 4 or 5 million. But anyway, what would it have cost for us to buy Callum McGregor if he hadn't came through the academy? Tell me what you think in the comments. First game definitely won't be the Scum. Celtic 1888, CCV has done that one. John Paul Glasgow says, I actually can't believe we're letting Taylor go. What hit from CCV, says William Clark. Yeah, was that? It was that. Paul Baird is wanting Taylor out. Paul, a lot of point blinded by Sutty's comments today. Were people blinded by Sutton's comments? Because let's face it, what Chris Sutton said on the telly. Chris Sutton says that, look, Greg Taylor is better than Jeffrey Sloop. And you're like, fair enough, he is. But Jeffrey Sloop is not the answer for backup. So I think when you look at it from the two perspectives, the two takeaways that I would say from Chris Sutton's comments is we need someone backup that is equally as good as what potentially Greg Taylor is. Right? We've got Kieran Tierney coming in. Kieran Tierney is way better than Greg Taylor. There's no doubt about it. Kieran Tierney was a £25 million player. He still is a £20-odd million player. If Arsenal was to have sold him last season to anyone else bar Celtic, Arsenal would still be looking to have got between 15 and 20 million for Kieran Tierney. They might have sold him, if they were selling him to another team in the English Premiership, they would have sold him for 20 million easily. Kieran Tierney's not going for any less than 20 million down in the English Premier League. They might have even made money. Arsenal might have made money off Kieran Tierney. You never know. I don't know what they valued Kieran Tierney at. But when Chris Sutton says that, that Greg Taylor plays that position brilliant, I've said it before in the live earlier today. It was Ange Postecoglou that got him to play that inverted sort of left back coming into the middle of the pitch. It wasn't Brendan Rodgers. And Brendan Rodgers saying, I like my left backs to do that. You never had your left backs doing that. You never had your left backs doing it the first time you were at Celtic. Kieran Tierney went up and down the wing. So Brendan Rodgers saying that he likes his players to do that. You'll see Brendan Rodgers change his style of play slightly when Greg Taylor leaves and Kieran Tierney comes back. Because he'll revert back to the good old-fashioned. He might even go back to a 4 in midfield. I don't know. You don't know. Because let's face it, he's still running the same formation that Ange Postecoglou brought in. Hatate turning up, turning it around against the crap teams is only papering over the cracks, in my opinion, says Big Des. Hatate playing with a smile on his face today. Hatate did play with a smile on his face today. And he was... but then I said in the live after the reaction game, that maybe Brendan Rodgers has told Rio Hatate that if he wants a move this summer, and if he wants to get away to another club, he really needs to start showing prospective buyers of Rio Hatate what he can offer. Not only what he can offer as the way of scoring screamers like he did, but he kind of took the game by the bull of the horns today, which was quite good. He took control of that midfield. He allowed Callum McGregor to sort of to not be as reliant. We weren't as reliant on Callum McGregor today during that first half, which was something that didn't go missing. I'll tell you that. Left side was poor today when Taylor went off. Jeffrey Sloop can't play that position, we know that. Taylor's been here longer than Sloop, so Taylor, when he's in on half, can play inverted better than Sloop. He's had his time, we shouldn't waste money on him. We shouldn't waste money on Sloop. I've said that before. I don't think that Sloop is the answer. Emre Can did at Liverpool. Well, there you go. Keep Taylor so teams can target him at set pieces. I think we're seeming to get a bit caught up in the heat of the moment because Greg Taylor in the Champions League was woeful. Greg Taylor was getting targeted in the Champions League. The left-back area was getting targeted in the Champions League. Let's not forget about what's happened this season. One good game and bringing in his baby on and being all lovey-dovey. I don't think that Greg Taylor... We can all admit that Greg Taylor wasn't the answer for the Champions League. He didn't cut the mustard. We needed someone better. Brendan Rodgers needed to change the formation and be more defensive at one game, remember. And in Atalanta, Greg Taylor wasn't coming into the middle of the park. He did do and I think Kieran Tierney does the defensive side better than Greg Taylor. He's definitely a step up. Anyway, waste money on Taylor. Paul Baird says that he can see at least 3 top first team players being sold. Yep. Well, we know that we're going to lose we're losing Greg Taylor for free. I think that Nico Kuhn could be sold this summer along with Rio Hatate. I think that's 2 players that are if there's players that are going to be moved on this summer, it looks like it could be Nico Kunin and Rio Hitati. Going the buddies for Fergie Paisley. KT starts today, I'll be watching. This is Danny Boy. Can't wait to progress in Europe. Keep Taylor. They moan when he fails us. Yeah. And this is what I'm saying, Chris. The amount of people that are saying, keep Taylor. Oh, he's been brilliant. But then when he gets to the Champions League level and then he gets shown a good one, and, it is what it is. Nice to see the Mini Huns not make top 6. Lol, yeah, we spoke about that at the beginning of the video as the live scores came in. It was a fantastic day for St Mirren. I know one guy that will be absolutely ecstatic. I mean, I'll need to give him a text. Big famous YouTuber that has got 80,000 subscribers. He'll be over the moon that St Mirren managed to score a goal in the last minute today to beat Ross County. It was touch and go for a minute, and they managed to score the goal late on. Hearts, they went away to Motherwell and drew 0-0, which put them into the bottom 6. Hearts, all they had to do today was win. Same with Motherwell, all they had to do today. Dundee United beat St Johnstone, and with Dundee United beating St Johnstone, that did the unthinkable, and it pushed Aberdeen down into 5th position. How the mighty Dons have fallen this season after running Celtic so close for the majority of the start of the season, and being right up there with us and near enough matching us game by game on a weekly basis. Aberdeen have fallen down to 5th position only until tomorrow, until they beat Rangers, and then they will jump back up. They'll go for 49. They'll go to 51 points, which will put them in 3rd position for the run in. Let's just hope they can do it, because let's face it, the team that they're playing, I mean, Aberdeen's not been playing well, but they always turn up, don't they? Aberdeen always do it. They always turn up for that game. They always turn up for that fixture. I think Sloop would be worth it as worth his looking player there previously. Bringing his baby on doesn't fool anyone, says Bobby a Jip. Does that. Hail for the Coventry Emerald. Can you please give my uncle Jimmy Murphy a shout out, who sadly passed away? He's had the same seat since my first game in the 1970s. Martin Jock Johnson from the Coventry Emerald bus. Cracking bus. My thoughts are with you and your uncle Jimmy Murphy. Big shout out to Jimmy Murphy. God rest his soul. Alex Bailly's only played 8 games in Serie A. He's only played 8 games in Serie A. It's probably 8 games more than he would. It's probably 8 games more than he would have if he was at Celtic. Let's be honest, Lanky. And plus, he's playing with a Barcelona legend. Now he's playing with a Barcelona legend. He'll learn more from playing those 8 games in the Serie A than he would fucking pissing about in Scotland in the shitty weather. Yes, Lorna back again today, spoiling us. Back to normal. We've got a setup that is worthy of YouTube that shouldn't start fucking up. So yeah, back full-time results. Like what I used to do. I was getting into the full-time results when Celtic weren't playing. And hopefully we'll be back tomorrow when Aberdeen win. And we'll be back to the morning videos. And then the lives also, 8 PM lives, they'll be going back to normal this Monday. If Hitati did like he did today for the remaining games, I think you'd have to question his mentality as a team player, says Brown Warrior. That's a good one, actually. Is he a team player, or is he turning it on because he knows that a big payday could potentially be coming? A big payday could potentially be coming this summer. That's one that you need to think about. Alex Bailly played 5 games for us in the Champions League this season. Yeah, but he didn't fancy Scottish football at all. And let's face it, Scottish football is a pay grade below where Alex Bailly's future will lie. I mean, he's going to go into the Barcelona team next year as backup. And the type of football that's played in Scotland would not have been great for his career. Wouldn't have been great for his career. Would have been character building and would have got him into the dirty side of the game. But let's face it, he's not going to face too many Scottish teams in his career, and maybe Celtic in the future. But he's definitely going to come against St Mirren and Dundee Uniteds and Dundees and Kilmarnocks. Never mind going to those grounds, those fantastic away days in Perth. No more. Fantastic away day up in Ross County. Nope. Next season he'll be sunning it in good old España and enjoying some decent stadiums. And I was at a stadium yesterday. When was it? Yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. We were down in Moorth there. What a stadium that place has got. There's a lot of stadiums around here that are like 30,000 seaters, and they're in the 3rd division in Spain. 3rd division in Spain, and they've got 30,000 seats. Yeah, unbelievable. Celtic 1888 says, shout out to to Martin's Uncle Jimmy. Lanky says he's turning it on, in my opinion. I think he's talking about Rio Hatate. Paul says, if the Huns lose tomorrow, won't be disappointed. Obviously, I'd rather do it on our own next league game, which I think will be against Dundee United. Well, we'll soon find out on Monday. What time? Well, as soon as we find out what time I do have a couple of things to do on Monday, but we will get back to plenty of lives and getting back to normal on this channel. And one of my lights is knackered. You buy shit off your Amazon, it fucking lasts no time at all. If you think Matthew Anderson will be back, yes. Lanky, I said that as well. Matthew Anderson's been playing over in Austria, hasn't he? And he's been there for 2 seasons. And I think that when you look at what Celtic and Brendan Rodgers has said about going out and getting your football education, I think that Matthew Anderson's had his football education, and Brendan Rodgers will bring him back, excuse me, and bring him back into the fold and into the team as backup for Kieran Tierney, rather than going out and spending. I don't think that, although Brendan Rodgers laughed about Jeffrey Sloop would like to stay at Celtic, and he said, of course he would. Of course he'd like to stay at Celtic. Who wouldn't like to stay at Celtic? What player wouldn't like to stay at Celtic? But it's the wage demands. If Greg Taylor's not going to get 25 grand a week out of Celtic, do you think that Jeffrey Sloop's going to go from 60 grand a week down to 15 grand a week? Not a chance. Not a chance. Not a chance. Just a thought, we should play CCV up front, says Square Sausage Mick. Would you play CCV up front? I'm not too sure about that. But anyway, what about the guy from Stone Graz or Penrith? Nah. I think that if Brendan doesn't, in the upcoming summer, in the upcoming season, if Brendan doesn't bring through young players, he's going to get called out for talking shite for the last 3 seasons. In the last 2 seasons. Because he has come out and said on many, many occasions, Brendan has come out and said that he likes to bring through youth talent, and he's not done it over the last 2 years. He's not brought through one youth player. And people will say, look, Daniel Cummins, he wanted to bring him through. He didn't want to stay at Celtic, so he didn't break into the first team. Daniel Cummins would have been in. If Daniel Cummins had signed a new contract with Celtic, who would you drop out the team for Daniel Cummins to be in there? He obviously plays as striker, but with bringing back Johnny Kenny, you know, there's not much space. I mean, Johnny Kenny can't even get a game. So where would Daniel Cummins fit into the team a bit? When you look at other players that have left, you know, Brendan said that he tried to get them to stay and offered them what he thought was a good deal. But, you know, you've got to say that there isn't a pathway. And Brendan Rodgers, for a manager who has came out on several occasions saying, and Rocco Vata, he said that Rocco Vata was going to be his third choice striker. Where does a third choice striker actually fit in at Celtic? Because when you're now playing Dyson Maeda as an attacker and then putting him on the wing, it means that there's a striker less on the bench. You know, so it's all good and dandy having Dyson Maeda as a fantastic player and a fantastic striker, but Younger players are not going to come to Celtic if they will look at the bench. Younger players will look at the team sheet and go, the way that Brendan sets his teams up, he has one person on the bench for each position. But when he's taking Adam Ida off to then move Dyson Maeda into the attacking forward position to then bring on another winger, the third choice striker, just like Johnny Kenny, is going to sit and say, well, when am I going to get a game? How am I going to get a game? You know, football players look at these stats. They look at the potential of where they are in the pecking order. And if they don't see themselves getting any game time at all, what's the point in staying at Celtic? You know, and that is the reality. And that's what young Lennon Miller's going to do. Lennon Miller's going to look at that midfield and go, well, when you look at the bench, the Celtic bench, if Luke McCowan, who was the captain of Dundee, cannot get a game in this Celtic team on a week-to-week basis. Lennon Miller is the captain of Motherwell. Why would he then come to Celtic to just go through the same as what Luke McCowan's got when he's got his full career in front of him? And do you know, is that going to really entice Lennon Miller to come to Celtic? Do you know, it's going to be a big summer. We're going to have to lose Rio Hatate if we want to bring in Lennon Miller, because Lennon Miller, unless he sees a pathway into that first team, and there's no use saying, look, Brendan will say, oh, but Callum McGregor's only got 2 years left. So what? I could be first team choice for an Italian team within a year. You know, I could be first team choice. I could be first team player for another club within 6 months. There's no guarantee of that. Anyway, I think if we see more flexibility in terms of the system and shape, then a third striker will have more chances, Brown Warrior. But that's Brendan Rodgers. Hi Kaiser, how are you? That's Brendan Rodgers needs to change the system. And I've said it before. I said it as soon as we knew Kieran Tierney was coming back. Brendan Rodgers will change the way that he plays. He'll change the system. He never played 4-3-3 when he was here before. He never played 4-3-3 when he was here before. He's still using Ange Postecoglou's system. I think he might revert back. And people will say his football before he left was shit. His team setup was shit. Something I don't know. Anyway, Lennon Miller's distribution ahead of McCowan for me, even at his age. I think so, Brown Warrior. Joseph says, Hail Baz, just been a bully. Taylor not signed new contract most of the season. Still gets game time. Double standards. Joseph, I understand what you're saying, but the PLC, and you need to put this back to Chris Mackay and Nicholson. They never got the players in that Brendan wanted. Alex Baye was a last minute panic signing from Celtic. They knew that we could get him in on loan, and it was a panic. It was a pure panic getting Alex Baye in because we needed cover. We needed cover for Greg Taylor because we knew that Alexandro Bernabe wasn't coming back to Celtic. So the situation that Brendan then found himself in, he hasn't been helped. And I think that the comments that Brendan says at the press conference on Friday, look, you either change the manager every few years or you change the players. At a club at Celtic, you tend to change the players. You cannot keep the same group of players for a season after season after season. You've got players now that have been at Celtic 4 seasons. When you've got the likes of Rio Hatate, he's naturally coming to the end of the cycle in his career at Celtic. It wouldn't surprise me if Celtic sold Dyson Maeda this summer. If Dyson Maeda does not sign a new contract between now and the summer, don't be surprised if we sell Dyson Maeda in the summer. That's all I'm saying. It's the business model. I think Milner will copy Ferguson and go to Italy. He could do. Lennon Miller is like Big Tam Rogic. I've said for a while, his vision is second to none. He might not be the fastest. That's the only problem, said Lanky. Callum McGregor's not the fastest in midfield. Scott Brown went from being a crazy box-to-box striker, a crazy box-to-box midfielder, to then being a midfield general. Can Lennon Miller turn into that midfield general? Squistle Mick says that Miller won't come to us. Ralston, not too bad today, says Deanne. Yep, he did that. By the way, it would be a 4-2-3-1 last time Brendan was here. 4-2-3-1. Yeah. Will he go back to that though? Will he go back to the 4-2-3-1? He then has to get another holding midfield player. Because if you're going to play the sort of two holding midfield players and then have your two wingers, who plays in holding midfield? You could play, I could see that working, because then it gives the option for Lennon Miller or Luke to play beside Callum McGregor in that holding midfield role. So anyway, Lorna says, Baz, we can't sell Dyson Maida. I'm just putting it out there. I'm just putting the conversation out there. Don't be surprised if it happens. If he doesn't sign a new contract between now and the summer, Celtic are then in a very, very precarious position. Because did they then go into the summer and there's people come in and put in offers for Dyson? And it then puts Celtic in a position where the football agent then says to Dyson, would do you fancy moving? And all this stuff. Look, he's just had a kid and all the rest of it, and they don't want to move school. Football players, they know. Should we gamble this summer and sign him? Sign Lennon Miller? Yes, we should. Hearts not top six, absolutely brilliant, says Chill Pill. Yep, you've definitely missed the top of the show, because that was what we broke with. The fact that St Mirren scored a goal way into injury time. St Mirren scored a goal way into injury time to put them into 6th place, which is absolutely fantastic for them. The goal, I'm not saying that the goal was the 86th minute, but there you go. It was the 86th minute, it wasn't injury time. There we go. It was the 86th minute. So that's me just been corrected. But anyway, the good point is Hearts are in the bottom 6. So we do not face Hearts again. We do not face Kilmarnock again. The only ugly team that we're going to face in the second half of after the split is going to be Rangers, Hibernian, Dundee United, Aberdeen and St Mirren, which are, apart from Rangers, all good away games. Even at Rangers, we're going to have 2,500 fans at that game. Anyway, that's me done. By the way, spot on. Sometimes you need to play ugly to win games. Yep. Kellier? We're not going to go for him. Miller isn't signing for us. No chance, says Chill Pill. No worry, Chill Pill. Don't worry about that. Joey Beltrami. How can Taylor play that well today if he's set on leaving? I think the fact that he came onto the park with his little baby in a Celtic strip, I think he was just saying he's sort of, this is it, I'm leaving. There's a few things that I want to do before the end of the season, and getting your kid on the pitch is one of them. Anyway, any bid for Maida won't be considered until after the Champions League ties. That takes us way far into August. And it means that Dyson Maida were more than likely. And then that's a big issue on its own. If we sell Dyson Maida after, because he hasn't signed a new contract. Now, the only reason that I'm saying that he may be sold, if he doesn't sign a new contract, at Celtic then go into that season knowing that he's got 1.5 seasons left the time that any other bid comes in for him. And that's far too late to get top money for Dyson Maeda, because in his current valuation you'd be looking at 30 million easily for Dyson. Is that good a quality of player? And the fact that he can play on the wing and he can play as a striker, it puts him right up there. And if he doesn't sign this contract, if Celtic are 110% trying to get a deal done, we commend them on that. But the fact that there is the possibility that he might not sign the contract, his agent might say, look, you've got 2 years left on your contract, there's loads of time. No, there's not when it comes to Celtic, and no when it comes, keep Dyson at all costs. I've said it before, I think Celtic should offer Dyson Maeda 50 grand a week. I think they need to make him on more than what Callum McGregor's on, 37. Cameron Carter-Vickers is on 37. I think that they need to put him a pay grade above that. I think they need to put him a pay grade above it. Simple as that. I prefer to tickle the like button, Lorna. Jeez. Lanky says, by the way, we all see the pre-season Brendan tinkered with the formation, played 3-4-3. 4-3-3 just comes down to the opponents we're up against. Yeah, it does that. But I think that we'll go to a solid back four next season. You're not going to change the formation that much. Anyway, that's me done and dusted for night. It's been over 36 minutes. Back in live. 50k, Celtic will never do that. Exactly, so they'll end up selling them. Brown Warrior gets the last one. If you can convince Dyson to sign a new deal on 40 grand a week with a 40 million buyout with a percentage, would that suit everyone at Baz? I think that would. Give Craig Taylor the 25 grand he wants his chill pill. I think that, Brown Warrior, you're right. If we give Dyson 40 grand a week, with, I would even say, a 30 million buyout clause. Celtic don't tend to put in buyout clauses, but we'll see it. I'll never rewatch this. Cheers, Chilpill. Oh, you need to rewatch this. Anyway, I'll be back first thing tomorrow morning. Don't know if we'll do a live, we'll do a pre-recorded video, and then if the result goes the right way tomorrow, be a little bit of meltdown Sunday. Dun, dun, dun. Silly Hyundai. Anyway, have a fantastic evening wherever you are, Celtic fans all around